work it out. I'm paraphrasing, of course. All of those options are possible. We just need to work it out. That is what was said. When you look at when they started going into deeper consultations, because by the way, that first consultation in May was, I think, a Sunday or a Monday. And what they had done was then set up consultations later in the week. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they would have consultations for people who are residents, consultation for people who are who have farm stuff on their land, consultation for people who have businesses, because if you recognize, this is an area that actually has quite a bit of businesses down on that end. There are quite a bit of businesses down on that end. So that was an option too. And they actually had set up consultations for different categories of people to come back to speak specifically about how their area could be dealt with or how their specification could be dealt with. All of those meetings again happened, and they basically came back saying, well, these are the options, particularly for those people who have agricultural thing. Maybe we can ensure that you get another piece of agricultural land somewhere else, blah 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 blah. When you look at it, most of the residents who were there, they basically said that they would prefer the land and money option. So you give a piece of land, and then you give away the remainder of the value, the value of our property or whatever, in money, so that we can now decide maybe we want to move from a 3-bedroom home to a 1-bedroom home because we don't need that much space and whatnot. We will go from there. Okay? That is what happened in that meeting in May 2018. You come down again, and a little later down, and I can't remember the exact date of this meeting. We have another meeting, another consultation, where it seems that is a whole different set of people. Is a whole different set of people now. And it seemed at that time that all of the people who were at the first meeting had no consultation or no communication with the people who were at the second meeting. Because when the residents came and they started telling them about the fact that they have to pick up, they have to move, and that the only option is for them to get the check in the hand and go, and the residents start to say, wait, hold up, what you're talking about? I know what they tell we a couple months ago, where you're going with that one. Those people who were in that second set of meetings were behaving as if, well, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? We don't know anything about that. That is not our deal. That is not what we plan to do. What's going on? So we recognized there and then that there was a complete disconnect between what was said in that first meeting and what seemed to actually be happening, because it seemed like at that first meeting, nobody in that first meeting had the authority to say what they said and that at that first meeting. And do you know the most disturbing part about that? Sometime after the Prime Minister came to Tobago to have one of his talks with the Prime Minister, I think that was when he was in Mason Hall High School. That was the same time that he told the Chief Secretary to sit down, that time. And he said that so-called consultation that they had in Tobago, he basically gave the impression that nobody had the authority to go and do that so-called consultation. So he don't know nothing but what they was telling people at that consultation. That is what, in essence, he said at that meeting. Just before, just after, he told our chief sec at the time to sit down. Like a little boy, sit down. And you know what our chief sec did? Like a little boy, he just sat down. That is what he did. He just sat down. The man tell him sit down, and you like a little puppy dog, you just sit down. Obey the command. Which tells you something, eh? That tells you something about the relationship that they have between Trinidad in that party and Tobago in that party. Because I could have promised all you this. If that was a situation where the Progressive Democratic Patriots had won the election and the PM came from wherever he came from and had a meeting, and if Mr. Watson Duke was the Chief Secretary of Tobago, And Mr. Rowley take God out of his thoughts and told Mr. Watson Duke to sit down. You know that would have been the end of that meeting. We know that there was going to be no I accept your command and sit down like puppy dog. We knew that would have been the end of that meeting. As a matter of fact, I feel Mr. Rowley knew he could not do that if Mr. Watson Duke was our chief secretary at that time. He knew that, so he would not even try that kind of story there with me. He would not have even tried that story. But anyway, that is how we were able to recognize that the Nancy story that they fed us in May was really just a Nancy story and was just something to hold, something for the residents to hold, to say, you hold, take that. But when we come in for real. And when we come in for real, we gonna do you what we want because you just have to hold that in your hand and take that because we are the big bad government and we care absolutely nothing about you. And on top of all of that, the Tobago House of Assembly that we all voted for when we went to the polls in January of 2017, all of those people who we voted for did nothing. No, let me correct that. Let me be fair in my assessment. At that first consultation, the area rep for that area, for down on this side, Mr. Jacobs, did get up and say on no uncertain terms that he want to make sure that his constituents are treated fairly, and he want to make sure that everything that is done is also done in decency and in honor, and that they are treated fairly because he is there to represent them. He got the biggest round of applause because, of course, what he was saying was correct. He is there to represent the people. He is there to represent his area. He is there to represent the residents of Canaan, Crown Point down this side. That is who elected him. I was very proud when he stood up and said that. And the residents were also very proud when he stood up and said that. About the MPs, we will talk about them a little later. Just know that at every consultation that I went, even if they were there, they sat in a corner hoping nobody would see them. They got up and said nothing. Just know that, but we're going to talk about that a little later. A critical thing is going back to why they needed so much land, why they were taking so much land. We kept asking over and over and over and over again, please show us the plan. Please show us the plan on the 80-something acres of land so that we can visualize it, because many of us are visual learners. We need to see it to make sense out of it. If you show us that this is the 80-something acres and this is where the airport is, this is where the runway is, this is where the hangar is, this is where the hotel you're going and put up, this is where the shopping mall is that you're going and put. If we see it lay out like that, we're going to say, oh yeah man, that 80-something acres, they make sense. And we could benefit from that too, because I could see where I could go in and I could actually have a business in the shopping mall and whatnot. We are yet to see a plan. When they recognized that the residents kept pushing back and forming themselves into groups, that was the other thing. They kept trying to get the residents to come in individually to negotiate. All year. Don't you ever do that. In a situation like this, what they are trying to do is divide and conquer. So you come in, they watch you in your eye, they realize that you might be a little weak. So instead of telling you $100, they tell you $50. And because you don't have any, because you know you're in a bind, and you know that you can't figure out where your next meal coming from, you take the $50 instead of the $100 because they watch you weak coming into the room. That is what they wanted. They wanted each and every household to come in and talk to them individually. But the residents down on this side, they were smart. They agreed that, hey, you know what? We're not doing that. We will form ourselves into a movement, and the movement will speak on behalf of the people. They did that, and they were smart, and it was one of the best decisions that they have made. Let me stick a pin in it a little bit and let you all know that right after that first set of consultations, Mr. Duke, being the minority leader of all of the Tobago House of Assembly, and again, we don't watch face, we don't watch party. After election, we're done with that. Mr. Watson Solomon Duke made his contacts in Trinidad and brought up, I don't know if you all remember this, brought up a senior counsel from Trinidad to come to Tobago, and we had a consultation right over there by Panam Building. They are doing renovations now. Panam Building did ram out with residents because we had a lawyer, we, the minority council, because we knew that what was happening was going to be unfair, and people needed information, and people needed to know how they should move and what the rule says and what the law says and what they can do and what they can't do. We brought up that lawyer to come and sit with the residents of Crown Point, and it happened right over there at that Panam Building at the time. It did ram out because the residents came and they wanted to listen. We, the minority council of the Tobago House of Assembly, took that upon ourselves. At that time, we didn't even have the office yet, because I remember that it took 2 years before they could even give Mr. Duke an office. But we knew that we were responsible for listening to the voice of the people, the voices that the Executive Council refused to listen to. It is our job, according to the THA Act, to listen to the people who the Executive Council are not listening to. And this was a perfect example, because the Executive Council of the Tobago House of Assembly, led at that time by Mr. Kelvin Charles, was not listening to the people of Tobago. So the Minority Council, led by Mr. Watson Solomon Duke, took it upon himself to find a lawyer from Trinidad who knows these things, who's worked with these things, to come up and say to the residents, this is the situation. This is what you need to do. This is what I suggest. This is what the law says. These are the timelines that they need to work with. These are the things. These are examples of how it's done in Trinidad, and so forth, so that the residents' eyes will open and they could then make an informed decision. The Minority Council of the Tobago House of Assembly, which includes Minority Leader Watson Duke, Assemblyman Farley Chavez Augustine, and myself, Dr. Faith B. Israel, pulled that together, pulled those people together, and had that consultation at Panam right there. If you don't believe me, don't doubt me. You can ask any of the residents, because it did ram out. Because people needed to know what was the situation and how they could treat with it. And we did that because we knew it needed to happen. We knew it needed to happen. Tobago, I need you all to listen to me carefully, because this is a perfect example of how the people who you elect to represent you have only been going on a PR stunt, and they have not been representing you one bit. They have not been representing you one bit. And not only have they not been representing you, they've been embarrassing you. They have been insulting your intelligence. And let me go to another key issue that is a critical issue for all of Tobago. So it's not just down on this end. This is a Tobago issue. All of us know that of those of us who are living on our land, on our properties, on the properties that belong to our parents and foreparents, grandparents, great-grandparents, whatnot. Many of us know that we have no document other than possibly a tax receipt, because we've been paying the $10 tax for every year on the property. Other than those tax receipts, many of us have absolutely no documentation that says this land that has been in the possession of my family for the last couple decades, centuries, there is nothing to prove that you own it. Tobago has significant land title issues. If you go down the road and ask any family, if you ask 10 families going down the road, all you have deed for all your land, I am sure that you might find 1, 2, or maybe 3 families that will tell you, yes, we have deed. The majority of them have no documentation. As a matter of fact, the majority of them does have a WASA bill that does come in the name of somebody that nobody never even seen in their life. Somebody who dead what seems like 100 years ago, the WASA bill coming in that person name. And every time you have to do something with the WASA bill, you have to get some old person in the village to sign an affidavit that say, yes, Mr. So, who nobody never seen, nobody never know, really was the owner of the property 100 million years ago. And that is why the WASA bill in his name and not in the family who is building and who is living and who actually owns the property. It is a situation that the average Tobagonian knows about very well. What is also important to note is that the government has created a system to rectify that. That is what we know locally as the administration. But the thing about administration is that we know that it takes forever. It takes forever and a day. It takes forever and a day. And it takes plenty money to do it. There are people, when you go through the process, is years and years and years and years later that you have to go through the process step by step for it to actually happen. Which is why when the then Chief Secretary, Mr. Kelvin Charles, was asked by the residents, so you're fine, you're beating them down. And the residents finally asked a question that related to land titles, because they recognize that even if you have been living on the property in Crown Point all your years and your generations have been living on the property in Crown Point all your years, they asked the Chief Secretary, and I heard it for myself. So you can't say you didn't say it. I heard it for myself. They asked, what is going to happen to the people who do not have titles in their names? What is going to happen to them? What he said is, if you don't have titles in your name, then you need to go through the administration process. Imagine that. Now, granted, this is a situation where they're telling you need to move out of the land in a couple months. And he looked residents in their faces and told them that they needed to go through the administration process to get the lands in their name if they want the compensation from the government of Trinidad and Tobago. Knowing fully well, or maybe he don't know, maybe he really honestly don't know, that the administration process takes many, many years and takes a whole lot of money. And the reason the people them ain't do it yet is because they didn't have the money to do it in the first place. That is why most people have not done it yet. That is why most people have not done it as yet. So when he said that, that was such a slap in the face of the average Tobagonian, because it showed that either he does not know about the situation in Tobago, being Chief Secretary, or he simply does not care about the situation in Tobago for him to say that most insensitive thing. And he also said, because the residents asked, what is going to be the situation where the land is in the name of some horrible, some person who has died, some person who is not around anymore, because that's the last set of documentation we have for them. What is going to happen? Who is the quote-unquote check going to be written out to? And he basically said the check is going to be written out to the person who has the actual documentation. So if the name of the owner on the land is some great-grandfather who died 100 million years ago, the check is going to be written in the name of the great-grandfather who died 100 million years ago. He actually said that. Again, showing that either he absolutely does not care about the people of Tobago, or he doesn't understand. And both of those are, in my mind, equally problematic, because if you are the Chief Secretary, you should be our chief advocate. You need to have a real good understanding of the situation that affects our people. And if you have a good understanding of the situation that affects our people, and you still say to them that kind of folly, then it means you really don't care diddly squat. And for you not to care diddly squat means that, really, what are you doing there? Why are you there? What, to get a salary? To live in the big house? To get drive around in the new car? Because you are supposed to be, as Chief Secretary, the chief advocate of Tobagonians. That is what your single job is. And that is why in January 2021, or whenever they call the THA elections, we need Tobago to know that the only person that they should even consider to be the Chief Secretary at that time is Mr. Farley Chavez Augustine, because he is our candidate for Chief Secretary. Yes, because we have a young man who understands the workings, a young man who came up from very, very humble beginnings, very humble beginnings. We have a chief sec who instead of putting on some brand new white boots to walk around in other people's garden, does actually be minding his own sheep and goat and them in his own garden in our old boots, because that is what he knows and that is what he does. That is who the future Chief Sec, Mr. Farley Chavez Augustine, is, and has a great understanding of the people of Tobago and the needs of the people of Tobago. So I could bet my life that if Farley Chavez Augustine was the Chief Secretary, he would have never said that to the residents of Crown Point. I could bet with my life that if Watson Solomon Duke was the Chief Secretary, he would have never said that kind of folly to the people of Crown Point. Because we care about people, because we understand the situation, and we know that it is going to be a slap in the face to tell people at that 11th hour that they need to start administrating for the land, knowing that it is going to take a very long time and it is going to take thousands of dollars that they don't have, because that is why they didn't do it in the first place. But Tobago, these are the people that you have given a chance. 20 whole years. 20 years they were there. You voted for them once, you voted for them twice, you voted for them 3 times, you voted for them 4 times. 20 whole years they were there. And showing you continually that they do not care and they are not advocating for you. That is the situation we are in Tobago, and this is the time for you to tell every single one of them that thanks but no thanks. You all need to pack all your Georgie bundle and go. Pack your Georgie bundle and go, please. We appreciate what you did, as little as it was, for the 20 years that all your Red Devils were there, but you need to pack your Georgie bundle and go. That is what you need to tell them. That is what you need to tell them the next time any of those in that red team comes to you to ask for your vote. Because if the leader in Tobago could tell you that because you in a situation now where government about to take your land and you don't know what to do because you don't have no papers in your name and your family been on that property for the longest while, and the man who is supposed to be your chief advocate go watch you in your face and tell you to go and administrate for the land now, then you know that he and them don't love you. He and them don't care nothing about you. He and them couldn't give a rat's whether you lived or you died, because this is a situation of living or death. That is where we are now, Tobago. Don't give them another chance to treat you like crap. Do not give them another chance. Now, one of the things I know, and one of the things, because there's quite a bit of research in terms of how is this done? How is this done in other places? If we have a situation where government about to come and take the land, what have they done in other places? What have they done in other countries? How have they done this? What's going on? What's going on? And quite a bit of research was done to see, well, whether it's Tobago alone they're treating so bad, or whether they've actually treated other people equally bad. We have a situation where precedents were set even in Trinidad and Tobago, because I know that there's one to get vexed when you start to highlight other countries. So we will only use Trinidad and Tobago. In Trinidad, for example, when they were building the Piaco Airport, where the Piaco Airport is right now, they did have to move quite a bit of people from there. And what they did, before removing those people from there, they were actually treated very fairly, because the new community known as Oropoon Gardens in Trinidad, that is actually the community that the government developed for the people they were moving from Piaco. So that they said, okay, we're moving all your from house, we're going to put all your back in some nice, decent, proper house. That is what they did. That is why Oropoon Gardens was created, to help people who were going to be moved for the Piaco Airport so that they could be treated fairly. When the Debe Highway was being constructed, those people actually received land and money to build. Those people received land and money to build. Even right here in Tobago, there were people who were squatting in the lowlands area and so forth, and some of them were really relocated to the Boko housing development. So they were squatting before. And they were relocated and given lands under a 99-year lease at the Boko housing development. Perfect examples to show that there are situations where this has happened before, and instead of treating people like dog, they treated them fairly. Instead of treating people like dog, they're treating them fairly. QREP, where they did the QREP exchange. Some of the residents, they sent them to what is called as Frederick settlements. Those residents, there were about 14 property owners, and the 14 property owners were awarded a total of $86 million in compensation. About $86 million in compensation to the 14 property owners in QREP. We have a situation here in Tobago where they told us, and they so proudly told us, that 29 property owners got checks for Crown Point already, and those 29 owners, the total that they got was $41 million. 14 properties from QREP get $86 million total in compensation, but 29 properties in Tobago get a total of $41 million in compensation. So you all think about that. Think about that for a little bit. You see the difference, the disparities in how much the property owners were awarded coming off of QREP and how much the property owners are being awarded in Crown Point. And any dog and cat could tell you that because of the development in Crown Point is probably one of the highest rated properties in terms of value on the island. So don't come with that. That is what they are doing. I understand that some of the people who they negotiated with, and when they negotiated with them, they agreed, yes, I know that the situation hard, and I know my property worth more, but we agree on $800,000. And when they got to receiving their check, they were told that actually, I know we did tell you that we was going to give you the $800,000, you know, but we have a check here for $400,000. Where you gonna do? We need you to go. You already signed the document saying that you agree with the negotiation and we're going. What will you do? I understand that there are residents right now regretting that they had individually gone in and negotiated with these people, because they are now seeing that the entire aim was to divide and conquer and give you the littlest amount they can give you, because you went in there all by yourself. One more thing, Tobago. Tobagonians know that when we own land forever. It is in our property, it is in our names. Even if it's not in our names, we know that it is freehold land is the term that is used. Freehold land, meaning my deed says that this is my land, and it is my land until I sell it or until I pass it on to another member of my family, a generation or two or whatever. It is not a situation where I am leasing the land for 50 years or 90 years or 100 years or 200 years. It is a situation where this is my land. The Tobago House of Assembly, though, would tell these Crown Point people that even though we are taking you off a freehold land, meaning land that is going to be in your name forever and ever and ever until you do something else with it, the options that we are giving you to purchase, which is in Shervan Road and so forth. Shervan is the main area that they're giving for residential development. That land is going to be 199 years lease. So we are going from a situation where people are moving from land that is theirs, that it belongs to their families forever and ever, for generations and generations and generations to come. And you are taking them from that situation of permanency and putting them in a situation where they have land that is on a 199-year lease. Yes, we know. Nobody ain't living to 199 years. We know that. But still, it's the principle that matters, because it means that the person who is there now, they know that if they pass it to their generations, there's going to be a point where your grandchild needs to get up, get the Georgie bundle and go, because the lease is 199 years. Tobago, is that fair? Is it fair to move people from freehold land that is going to be theirs forever and ever and ever, and tell them that you are now putting them in a space where they are lease, 199-year lease? And I know they went up to 199 years because they know the 99 years old has just sounds so bad. But it didn't make a difference to me, because it is the concept. It is the concept that is important. It is the absolute disrespect that is the issue. It is not just what you do. It is how you do it. It's not just what you do. It is how you do it. How you do it. And that tells you how they have been behaving. That tells you what is going on there. And let's think about this. When last all your passed through Shervan, because the parcel of land that they are telling people that we are, and they came and they made such a grandiose presentation about the lands in Shervan, and the fact that the lands in Shervan are worth a certain amount, and that they were allowing the residents to purchase the land. By the way, the land in Shervan that the residents are going to are not lands that they are being given for free. They have to go and purchase them. Granted, they're going to be purchasing them according to the THA at reduced rates. Sure, fine, that's great, sure. But those lands, when last saw you pass in that Shervan area, is that land developed in any way right now? Is that land ready? Is there electricity and water and drain and a road proper? So that if a man really get a check today, if a man really get a $2 million check today and say, yes, I want to go and buy a piece of land in Shervan, that they could go and put down $1 million on the land, depending on how much they want. And they could say, well, I could use the next $1 billion to build my house and everything ready, because all I had to do is to go in with my contractor and put up the structure. Is water there? Is lights there? It had road to pass properly? It had drain properly? Or they tell me. Because I from Belgarden, I must say don't know where Shervan is. I must say don't know what they're talking about. Because obviously, I stupid. So you all tell me, even if a man gets a check today and decide, yes, that is where I want to go and that is where I want to buy it from, can he start building tomorrow? Connie, you all really think about this. You all think about how unfair these people have been. You all really think about how unfair they are. This is not even unfair. This is downright evil and wicked. This is downright evil and wicked. They were told that they could get counseling. Something as simple as that, because you're picking up a man from where he's lived all of his life. And a situation like that, you need to talk through it. You need to cry a little bit. You need to let your feelings out. You need to be reassured that everything will be okay. They said that they were going to have counselors available. If somebody could find out for me, if any of those counselors were ever available to any resident, let me know. Let me know. Were you able to call a counselor anyway and cry? Were you able to do that? Let me know. Evil, wicked people. Evil, wicked set of people. These are the people who you voted for. These are the people who you read your finger for. These are the people who you get up early and go and vote for them. You put the X next to the Balize. That is why they are there. That is why they are there, because you put them there. And the same people you put there have been strangleholding you. They have the knee on your neck for the last 20 years. You telling me you're going to go back and put your ex next to that Balize for them to continue putting the knee on your neck? Are we really, really, really that stupid? Is that what we are? Are we? Tobagonians, or they can't do that. You have to prove them wrong. Prove every single one of them wrong. And let me and I will open up the lines just now, because I want you all to tell me, because I may have misrepresented something. I may have said something that didn't really happen in the meeting. And if that is what happened, please call me and tell me that, Faith, you lie. Faith, that is not what happened. Faith, we're good, we're happy. Call me and let me know, because I don't mind being, this is one time. This is actually one time. I don't mind being wrong at all. This is one time I do not mind being 100% wrong. I would apologize to everybody and say, hey, my bad, I am so sorry. I misrepresented what happened. Please forgive me. And I would put my tail between my leg and go, if that is really what happened. So please let me know. Let me round off now, though, before I open up for calls, by reminding us that this election on August 10th is an election to put two people to represent the needs of Tobagonians. Two people to represent the needs of Tobagonians. All of what happened, the two Tobago, East and West. Actually, before I go there, somebody just remind me of a situation. A WhatsApp chat said, morning doctor, but weren't there THA rep at one of the meetings and walked out? Thank you for sending that message. Because there was, let me go to that first before going to the MPs. One of the last meetings that I went to, because remember I told all you earlier that I would give Jackie jacket. At the first set of meetings, the area rep, Mr. Jacobs, came and he spoke very nice. He spoke on behalf of the residents. He came and he said, I want to make sure that my residents are comfortable, and we will do everything that we can to ensure that they are comfortable, blah, 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 blah. And he got a big round of applause, and I was happy when he got up and did that. Now, I didn't realize that most of the day after that, he got called into a meeting and he was scolded because he was not supposed to do that. He got a serious tongue lashing because he was not supposed to put people before his party. And that is what he did. He put his residents before his party. And I understand he got called into a meeting, it was, must say, a Sunday afternoon, and they let him know, you shouldn't have do that. What you doing? You're embarrassing the party. You can't do that. So he took his chain up. And at one of the last set of meetings that he came, instead of standing for the people who elected him and put him there, When he took the mic, he got up and he basically said that all of how disappointed he was with all of the residents who were there. He got up and he said how the group that is supposed to, the group that was formed, the peace group that was formed, that they should have come to speak to him before embarrassing him like that. And he was so disappointed with all of them because they all know that where his office is and what they could do and that he would have been there for them and blah, 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 blah. And he castigated them. And he went on and on and on and on and on about everything that they've done wrong. And we all stood there looking at him wondering, wait, is this the same man who at the last meeting told them to make sure my residents are treated well? Is this the same man who told them to make sure my residents, as in the area rep, tell them is it the same area rep that is now coming and cussing the residents? Was it the same area rep? Yes, it was. And I say it for myself. I was there. I saw it myself. And I say thank God that the leader of that peace movement, Miss Hackett, thank God she know how to stand up like a woman. Miss Rhonda Hackett, she know how to stand up like a woman. And she stood up there and she made sure that he did not come with his big bad huffing worsted and try to intimidate her. Because he came and stood up next to her as if to tell her to sit down and shut up, and she stood firm. Thank God. Thank God she stood firm. And when he was done saying everything that he had to say, when he was done in essence cussing all of the residents, she got back to the mic and she asked them kindly, she said, because he has just said some things that were incorrect and it is on the public record and I need to correct it. She got up and she said it the most masterful way. She asked the people who were sitting around the room, if anybody knows that movement has been trying to reach the area rep since whatever happened, and she went through a very long list of what happened, I need you to stand with me. And the entire room stood with her because they knew that what she was saying was correct and that they had been trying to find and meet with the area rep for months. And he had simply refused. But he came that night to try to intimidate her, to try to intimidate them, to try to make it seem as if they are going out of the way and they are not working with their area rep and he is doing everything that he could do, when they had proof that they had tried, and they had tried, and he was the one who was not responding. Tobago, Canaan Bonaccord for election, for THA election. If that man and if that party takes God out of their thoughts and try to send him again, please remember that day. Please remember that day. Because I don't know if he was sent by the chief secretary who scolded him the last time about speaking up for the residents. So he had to make sure that he spoke for the party. You all realize what's going on? That party, and they say it, great is the party. Great is the party. When in fact it should be great is the people. Great is Tobago. Great is Trinidad and Tobago. Great is the residents. Great is the people who we represent. No, to them, and every time they say it, I need you to remember. Every time they say it, I need you to remember that when they say great is that party, they mean to hell with you. They mean to hell with you, the people who voted for them, because it shouldn't be great is that party, it should be great the people of Tobago. And that was a perfect example where he was able to turn around him out because he got scolded by his party leadership for speaking on behalf of Tobago. He got scolded by his party for speaking on behalf of the residents. So he come around now and is trying to scold the residents because they are standing up for their rights. That is what he did. And I thank the Most High God that the residents, that peace group, and that their leader did not allow him to do that to them. I thank God that they were able to stand up on that day and not allow him to do that. But let me go back to the MPs. Let me go back, and I would round out by the MPs. I think, if I am not mistaken, and this is where I could be corrected, there was one of those meetings where the MP for Tobago West was there. She may have been there for more than one meeting, but I remember one meeting in particular where she was there. And we have to question whether she was there or not, because she did not take a front seat role at all at any of these meetings. She did not speak on behalf of the people of Tobago West, and if she couldn't do it publicly, I'm sure she did not do it privately on behalf of the people of Tobago West. As a matter of fact, there was a point when you looked in her direction, you recognized that she was trying to sink into her seat so that no one recognizes that she was there to ask her anything, to ask her to speak, to ask her to say anything. That was the impression you got when looking at her and looking at her posture and looking at where she was and looking at the fact that she said nothing. She never one time, and again, I could be wrong, if I am, correct me, but never one time got up to the mic, got up to the podium and said, as your Minister of Parliament for Tobago West, this is what I am saying, this is what I am doing, this is what I am advocating for. Not once. Not once. But you know when the MP showed up? A couple weeks ago, when they had some kind of MOU signing or something. I don't even know what it was. It was at the official beginning of the project, when it had all the Chinese and it had the NITCO people and whatever. The MPs were there front and center, nicely dressed, taking pictures at the sign at the moment, commemorating the point where the government was officially taking full advantage of the residents of Crown Point. And they were there, standing proudly with their party, standing proudly with the group of people who they knew were being unfair to the residents, standing proudly front and center taking pictures. That is when the MPs came out. That is when the MPs came to represent. That is when the MPs came. And that is why Mr. Shea Grace Boris always speaks about the fact that what she will do is real representation and she will not be involved in the PR thing. Because that is a perfect example where no representation happened, but you come out for the PR, you come out for the picture, you come out for the signing, you come out in your nice dan, so that everybody could see you were there, you were part of that. That is what happened. And instead of being on the trenches fighting on behalf of the people who read their finger for you, you left them in the wilderness, you left them crying as they are crying right now. But no, you are there for PR. And that is what they have been doing. That is what the Red Party has been doing on behalf of Tobago for the longest while. And that is why I say, with no apologies, Tobago, all you have sense. Every single last one of you have a brain in your head and you have sense. We grew up on dasheen and banana and pumpkins and fish. With brain cells working very good. You can't tell me that after you watch that happen, after you see that happen with your own eyes, and even if you didn't see it happen, after you know that this happened to fellow residents in Crown Point, and if it could happen to Crown Point, it could happen to Roxborough, it could happen to Canaan, it could happen to Charlottesville, it could happen to other places. If they could do it in Crown Point, they could do it by you too. If your neighbor house on fire wet your own, don't sit back and say, well, they say it going okay, knowing that these Crown Point residents are in tears. You cannot go back with good conscience and red your finger and put that X next to a Balizi. You cannot do that. You absolutely cannot do that. We need to send two representatives to Trinidad. Tobago East, Mr. Watson Solomon Duke. And there is no better representative. Because even in the minority, even as the minority for the area, he has been, when the government, because by the way, as minority leaders, members of the minority council, the only thing we just get from the THA is with salary, The only thing we just get from THA is with salary. So every time Assemblyman Farley Chavez, Augustine, Assemblyman Watson Duke, I do something for you, is because we had to find the money ourselves. from wherever we get it from, to do it for you. We get nothing from the government to do it. As a matter of fact, I hope you'll remember that it took them 2 whole years before they even offered us the comfort of an office space. 2 whole years before they even offered us the comfort of an office space. So when you see all of the things that we have been able to do for the people who we represent, know that we are actually doing that out of our own pockets, or out of going to businesses and going to people and tell them, hey, we need a so. Can you donate a 500 or a 500 worth of whatever it is? That is how we have been doing it. And if we're doing it like that in the minority, imagine what we would do if we had access to the government money. Just imagine what we would do with access to the government money. So I'm asking you, each and every one of you, on August 10th, look for the Bamboo Bullifay. Look for the Progressive Democratic Patriots. Look for Tashia Grace Boris in Tobago West, Watson Solomon Duke in Tobago East, and put your X there. Put your X there. And by the way, I've been telling you all for the longest while, on election day, I need you to get up real early and pray and say a special prayer. Say a special prayer, because I know they're nasty and dirty and they will try all kind of thing. And I understand some people saying in previous years that when they went into that little box and they opened the ballot paper, the only thing that they saw was the balize. And they got confused. Don't allow that to happen again this time. Pray. Cover yourself as you're going there. Don't allow them to do it. And if that is all you're saying, when you're going to come back out and tell them, hey, let me start over. Don't allow that. Don't allow that at all. You have the right, if you're going there, if all you're saying is the balize, to come back out and ask the presiding officer and so forth to tell you what's going on here. You have the right to do that. Get up. August 10th. Get up very early. Pray, meditate, take your seat back, do whatever you need to do, and ensure that you find Watson Solomon Duke name. Find Watson Solomon Duke. Find Tashia Grace Boris. Find a bamboo frame. You know what bamboo look like. All of we grew up in Tobago, we know what the bamboo patch look like. Look for the frame that made out of bamboo. Look for the flame, the bullifay, the fire that had 3 hands on it. Even if you can't read a word, you know what bamboo look like, you know what hands look like, you know what fire look like. Even if you can't, that's what you are looking for. Let me take this call. Good morning, caller. You are on the air. Welcome.
Good morning, Dr. Faith. You are in rapid form this morning. I must say this is one of the best discussions I have heard from the PDP.
Thank you so much, man.
I like how you take your time and articulate how the PNM is more interesting than the party, than the country. And this is why they behave the way they behave. This is why they victimize people. Because the party is like the God. And they have to stop it. They have to stop that party allegiance against the people. And I hope that the people wake up, because the example that you gave today with that land is just one way in which they show their disdain for the people who represent them. That is just one example. There are many countless examples for decades of how they treat with people. And we have to stop them, because they're getting more boisterous and they're getting more high-handed in their behavior. And the people is the one that has the power. It's the people's power, it's the people's parliament, it's the people's representative, it's the people's assembly. And if it is not left with the people, then we are looking at something different, not a democracy. We're looking at an autocracy.
Exactly.
I am really glad, and I hope that you will continue to expound on these ideas so that people could understand that democracy is about the people and not the party. Thank you so much. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much for calling. Thank you again so much for calling in. So again, I'm going to open up the lines now. 717-9591, 717-9591 if you want to call directly, or if you want to send a WhatsApp message or call via WhatsApp, call 734-6355, 734-6355. I already have a message here. Let me read it. Dr. Faith, it is quite clear that you took very good notes at all of those meetings which you attended. It is quite evident that this information you are sharing cannot be disputed by anyone. I am hard pressed to see anyone come forth with anything to counter all that you have been saying. Thank God that you were there. Else, all of this information would not have been made known to us, the people of Tobago. Again, thank you. And yes, that is why I went. I take it and make it my business to leave my house and come down here. No, me no live down here. No, me no have a bother with your tongue people. No, but I made it my business because I represent everybody. Good morning. You are on the air.
Good morning, Dr. Phil.
So can you move away from the radio or turn everything down, please? Morning, we're hearing an echo.
Okay, I move.
Thank you.
I'm speaking from Golden Lane. I want a number for the candidate down here. What I want to say, I don't want to see it on the air. I have to see somebody from the candidate. You understand?
Yes, I understand.
By the way, I don't want to call my number on the air, but if you could take my number on the air. Give me your number that I will call you.
Sure, I don't mind giving my number. My number does be on TV. My number does be on newspaper. Everybody have my number. 494-8827. That's Dr. Faith. 494-8827. And I would share with you the number for the manager or for the candidate personally. But my number 494-8827.
Well, I'll take that number from you, right? Okay, well, when you come off the air, I'll call you, right?
Thank you, yes.
Thank you.
So, yes, thank you, caller. Thank you so much. You can keep calling in. If you are calling directly, 717-9591, and calling WhatsApp, 734-6355, 734-6355. Hello, good morning. You are on the air.
All right, thank you for answering my call. First, I want to compliment you. You're the best I ever heard in Tobago. The best, the very best. Also, what I question, why they cannot have a debate so people can know the truth?
I agree.
Why? Because a lot of people are voting blindly. Why? Because folks give them maybe a drink or maybe a roti, and they are voting for them.
Sadly.
And something is wrong with that. So a debate is so important. I don't know what you could do to advocate that, but it's a plus that people may know the truth so they can vote rightfully.
And I could tell you right now that the PDP would be willing to participate in any debate, whether it's for this election or for the THA election coming forward. We are ready and willing because, as you say, we are campaigning on issues. We are not campaigning on the kankatang. We are campaigning on issues, and we would stand up anywhere, anytime, and speak on those issues.
So when that can be reinforced, a debate, so people could know the truth. Because many people are just following blindly. They don't know the truth.
I hear you. I agree. We are ready and willing. You know, usually what happens with debates is an external party, an external quote-unquote neutral party is one that calls for it and one that pulls it together and invites the parties to be a part of it. So if that could happen, that would be wonderful.
Yeah. And one last thing. Pertaining to your number on the air, is it possible to advertise that more often, like maybe 10-15 minutes? Every 15-10 minutes?
Sure, that's not a problem. That's not a problem at all.
Why? Because folks are driving and they need that number to call in right away.
Okay, I hear you. I agree. So yes, thank you for that suggestion, and we will definitely be selling the number more.
Thank you for the work that you're doing, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much. Thank you
All
for
right.
calling.
Okay, have a good one.
PDP, I just the PDP. PNM, no do nothing for we. Positivity, it burns all negativity. PNM, them only coming with the negativity. Don't get caught up in the light, they put in front your eyes to see. Look how long, PNM are blind, we never want. We know the truth about what them do with money. So kick out, pressure pot rolling. Vote PDP, we are vote PDP, cause we want better men, Jeff. This is no dream. Vote PDP, we are vote PDP. PNM, them never do nothing for me. Vote PDP, we are vote PDP. Full time we try to beat this and all it. Vote PDP, we are vote PDP. Kick out, pressure pot rolling. Vote. This I don't know, this I don't know true. Vote, say we are vote. Full time for them get this I don't know true. Vote. What I say? This I don't know true. Vote. Kick out! Right now we are say what's in D for the east, that shall be for the west. Right now we are say what's in D for the east, that shall be for the west. Straight out in a star. Yo, this I don't know joke. Food. This I don't know joke. Food. Say right now. This I don't know joke. Say we are vote PDP, cause we want better men, every country. Vote PDP, we are vote PDP, and them never do nothing for we. Vote PDP, we are vote PDP, full time we try feed you, Mr. Farley. Vote PDP, we are vote PDP, kick out, pressure pot rolling. 5 years no one recession. Tell me with the L pressure pot rolling. The body not give it with the right, but him a take it with the left. And tell me with the LTH do with 2.2 billion and the people in Tobago. Close operation, and the worst government me ever see govern. Raging bull with no direction. And me a see a just bad intention. And me na talk no lie, me a speak the truth. From Kelvin Charles signing them, the pan you. Now I walk up and them would and them a try get the youth. They would like them a just blow ya. Talk the truth in a talk no lie. Instead them raise pay only food a get high. And poor people a cry. We ask them why. Vote PDP, we are vote PDP, cause we want better men, every country. Vote PDP, we are vote PDP, PNM, them never do nothing for we. Vote PDP, we are vote PDP, full time we try to face Mr. Farley. Vote PDP, we are vote PDP, kick out, pressure pot rolling. What was that? PDP, I just the PDP. PNM, no do nothing for we. Positivity, it burns all negativity. PNM, them only coming with the negativity. Don't get caught up in the light, they put in front your eyes to see. Look how long, PNM are blind, we never want. We know the truth about what them do with money. So kick out, pressure pot rolling. Vote PDP, we are vote PDP, cause we want better men, Jeff. This is no dream. Vote PDP, we are vote PDP, PNM, them never do nothing for we. Vote PDP, we are vote PDP, full time we try to beat Mr. Farley. Vote PDP, we are vote PDP, kick out.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. How are you going?
Very, very well. Thank you for calling.
Yeah, good morning, Dr. Listen, one thing that a lot of people, even in my office, is talking about, and visitors coming in, is the state of the situation with the cultural complex. I understand it is shut down because they have mounting problems with that place. The doors have been seized up, the water lines bursting under the building because that piece of land there is moving. I remember years ago when we were telling them, do not put that monstrosity away to the building in that kind of area where the sea is right there and the land is clay and it's moving. Even the back fence of the fence of the building, around the building there was break away and all these kind of different things tip away because it's clay. Should have gone somewhere, maybe down on the flat area down by Republic Bank in Okinshaw or down at the Meshuvan Plaza is down there. But I understand it's a bad situation with the building there. It's just a few years that building is, and it's kind of unusable at this point in time, you know? So,
well, somebody did message me recently saying that even the roof, the ceiling seems to be falling in. And I thought, oh my goodness, but you are right, because that whole issue, we've always known that that's been an issue. That's why Scarborough needs to move. That's why the land, the land erosion there is horrible.
That is one of the most stupidest thing that was ever done. I don't know why they don't listen to people. Similarly, the same thing with the market. The market should not have gone back in the area where it is right now. It should have stayed down at Shopper, which is because it has outgrown the area in Scarborough there. When that market reopens in that area there, could you imagine the situation? The market isn't open, that car park don't even have ants can't even park in that car park right now, every day. Right? What is going to happen in that area there? That was supposed to be a transport hub where you could have gone for the first time and rearranged Scarborough and able to take transport to different parts of the island. They don't listen. They're just doing their own thing. They're not listening to the people and so on. And this is the kind of suffering we have to go through because of this foolishness. Look at the kind of money spent on that cultural complex. Almost $1 billion or more. And this is what the situation is already. Because we warned them that this is what's going to happen. It is in the wrong place. Yeah? So,
yes.
You have to open up all these things that remind the public about.
So true, so very true, and it's sad that they really do not listen to people, because the people who know Tobago history would tell you that that is not the best place. The same thing that
any idiot who looking at that development to last, so a building like that size, not a temporary building to last decades to come, would realize that that is not the place to put that kind of building with the parking and all these things. Where it is. Since I go in Scarborough, that soil there breaking away. Crusoe Hotel was right behind that where that building was, Crusoe Hotel. And Crusoe Hotel has disappeared and sunk down into the soil. That was a hotel behind there at one time. And when I was going to Scarborough, I used to go there and get a little fruit punch and so on from my best friend's father, who was a waiter there at the time. Yeah? And that whole area has sunk in. I don't understand how you could put a building of that size on top there. That is the most foolish thing I've ever seen.
Yes, sadly. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And you have to ask, why don't they listen? Why don't they listen? But this also shows that what they do does not form part of a larger comprehensive plan for Tobago. They just kind of decide every year to do things by VAPs and do this and do that, and again, because something that was promised 15 years ago, they finally want to do it, so they just come and do it. When in fact, even though it was promised 15 years ago, we have to think about whether it makes sense to still do it now, because remember, what was happening 15 years ago may not apply to what we need now, and you have to rethink and reconceptualize. That's why the Progressive Democratic Patriots has spoken about several times having a comprehensive plan for the island. We are going to start with that. Let me take this call. Good morning, caller. You are on the air. Welcome and thank you.
Good morning, the genius.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You know what surprised me about this place with these culture complexes? Mr. London used to be right on that lower ground next to that place when they was cutting the bellow jump, a place to make a cycle track. I don't know if people in Tobago can remember that. And the tractors used to be sticking there to take one to pull out the necks and all kind of things.
Really? I didn't even know about that. Whoa.
But ask anybody, you know who to ask, who used to be there? The finance secretary father, Mr. Trippimat.
Right. Okay.
And Mr. London and myself and other fellas used to be there. Carlston Gray from Canaan used to be running in the evening there. And we used to see what's going on there with the chapters and that thing. And I think that is why Mr. Huchoy Charles, I don't know if I get it right, had built the stage for Panorama and all these shows in Shaw Park, and they put barrels under the stage, the board stage.
Okay.
To get something right, because they didn't want to use heavy concrete material there. And they come in and break them down and put this heavy structure.
Wow. Thanks for giving us that history. Thank you so much, caller. Thank you so much. Now we are coming close to the end of the program again. We could take a few more calls, 717-9591 if you're calling directly. WhatsApp 734-6355. Somebody's asking about why the media is so biased to the PNM. I will... Oh, there's always going to be an issue with perception of media and bias. We know that it is what it is, and I know it does not faze us. Let me take a little bit of time to remind us that we need to not grow weary. We have about 2 more weeks before the election. We have a lot of work to do. Given what you've heard this morning, because I'm sure many of you didn't even know that all of this was happening. Given what you've heard this morning, you now have a responsibility, because Tashia Grace Burris and Watson Solomon Duke will not be able to find every single household and speak to them between now and August 10th. We will not be able to do that. We will never be able to do that. So you need, having listened to what I said this morning, call somebody and let them know that this is one of the reasons, one of the many, many reasons that we cannot vote for them, and we have to put in 2 warriors, 2 fighters, and those will be Watson Solomon Duke and Tashia Grace Burris. Hello, good morning. You are on the air. Thank you.
Good morning, Dr. Faith.
Hi, good morning.
You dealt with your topics exceedingly well this morning.
Thank you.
And there was something else I want to bring to the fore again. That in this election, the 2 representatives who are to go to Trinidad on behalf of Tobago must know that the law prevents them from dealing with some things. Some things are under the Tobago House of Assembly, which in this case, this group of people are asleep. But there are some things that they should handle, the 2 representatives. One of them could have been that same airport matter. The other thing could be education, which is under the THA, but as a national body, they could give ideas about what is happening in Tobago and what is required. And let's talk about tertiary education. Tobagoans have been suffering for years, and to go further, one has to go to Trinidad. And we know that, of course, one of the representatives could tell you how she suffered to go to university in Trinidad. And that's something that could be dealt with. But nobody from the PNM seemed able and willing to talk about that kind of development. Tertiary education was only handled well by the UNC when they were in office. That MIC facility down at Canaan was built by Fazal Kareem, and he brought opportunities for young Tobagonians to get certified in technological skills. That's an area that we weaken in Tobago, and to get training, one has to go to Trinidad. There's something else. Let's talk about marine things, fishing, sailing.
Certainly.
Nobody in Tobago has the opportunity to get training in repairing engines and stuff like that, repairing the boats and navigation and that kind of experience. We don't have the facilities. And that's something that I think we should have been pushing. Of course, we need things like a marina and stuff like that. Not only one marina, but maybe marinas. One in the west, one in the east. These are things that when you talk about development, you're thinking about what can we do for the people of Tobago that they cannot do for themselves.
Certainly.
And here is where a good representative will articulate a case on behalf of Tobago. But tell me, do you think that sending 2 PNM representatives down to Trinidad, they could go contrary to how the people in the East-West Corridor think?
Well, they've already proven that they can't, and they've already proven that they refuse to, because I am not even sure that they have ever tried. That is the hard part.
I have listened to some of those talk shows, and I'm hearing Trinidadians talking about you only sending money to Tobago, and what they're doing, they aren't producing anything, they only keeping the money. And it sounds so badly. I think what is happening in Tobago now is as a result of the backward thinking of the people in PNM. They never wanted a Tobago that was not independent as a state by itself, but independent thinking, where Tobago could trade with the outside world and Tobago could bring Trinidad goods to Tobago and let Trinidadans come here for them. That is the sort of thinking that we want, but we don't seem to have the people in the PNM who could do it. I think you just have to keep on doing what you're doing, and only a few days to go before the jury will come in.
And thank you so much, and you are right. It is quite obvious. Anybody who can weigh what the PDP is offering, and anybody who weighs what the PNM has offered and has given us for the last 5 years, even if you just look at the last 5 years with our Tobago Prime Minister and our 2 Tobago MPs, even if you just look at that and what the PDP is offering to the people of Tobago compared to what the PNM has offered Tobago for the last 20 years, even if that is all you look at, you would recognize that who is there now has not done well for the people of Tobago and will not do well for the people of Tobago. So there is really no point in putting them back. You know, they said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different result. This is a perfect opportunity, Tobago, to prove to Trinidad and Tobago that we are not insane, to prove that we are very clear, right-thinking people. Because August 10th is right around the corner. As I said, it's about 17 days away. In 17 days away, let's just say 2 weeks, let's just say really 2 weeks away, and you have an opportunity of having heard what I've said in the last couple of days, having heard what Tashia Grace Burris has said for the last couple of weeks on 7 to 9 every morning, hearing what Mr. Watson Duke is saying from 10 to 12 before I started, hearing all of that, you now need to make a very clear choice. You now need to make a very clear choice. Watson Solomon Duke in the east, Tashia Grace Burris in the west. August 10th, get up very early and ensure that you go out to the polls early. We need to ensure that we have won this race by 12 noon and that you spend the rest of the afternoon, 12 to 6, not gallerying, not drinking, not liming, but pulling out everyone you know who has not already voted to come and vote for the Bamboo Bullifay. Vote for Watson Solomon Duke, vote for Tashia Grace Burris, because we've been doing it. We know that Tobago deserves performance. We know that people deserve performance, and we have been putting people first. Again, just before I wrap up, just letting you know, reminding you again that this evening we will be in the Scarborough, Calder Hall, Bagatelle, Darrell Spring area. So if you live in that area, look out for us, listen for us. We are moving around with some systems that would allow you to stay in your homes. You just need to open the windows maybe and open the door a little and hear what we are saying. If you want to come out, if you want to come and wave at us, if you want to come and actually see what Mr. Duke looks like or what Tashia Grace Burris looks like, you can come out. And then we are going to be ending the evening at 8 p.m. by close to the Esplanade, that area close to the Esplanade. That is where we'll have our final meeting this evening at 8 p.m. We'll have it there. So guys, thank you all so much for listening. Please, if you are on Facebook, thank you so much for tuning in. Please share the live. This is one of those that people need to know, people need to listen to, people need to understand what has been happening to the people in Crown Point. And people need to know that they should never allow something like this to happen again. And one way to never allow something like this to happen again is to ensure that on August 10th, we vote resoundingly for the Bamboo Bullifay. We vote resoundingly for Mr. Watson Solomon Duke in Tobago East and Tashia Grace Burris in Tobago West, because we are putting people before politics. We are ensuring that when we speak, we truly speak on your behalf and not on the behalf of a party or anything like that. We are doing this because we absolutely love Tobago and we know that you deserve better. Thank you so much, and I will see you. You will hear from me on Monday again. God Spares Life. life. As long as everything goes as planned, I should be here Monday again, and we would continue the conversations. We would continue speaking. I will continue breaking it down. I will continue doing this level of education. As you know, this is not a bacchanal thing. This is us saying this is what we need to do. This is what we need to understand. This is where we are going. So thank you, thank you, thank you. This is Dr. Faith B. Israel. I am the deputy, one of the deputy political leaders of the Progressive Democratic Patriots, the Bamboo Bulife, and asking you again on August 10th, Tashia Grace Boris, Watson Solomon Duke, so that we could send 2 freedom fighters to the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you so much, people. Thank you so much.
Vote PDP, we are vote PDP. Full time I try Faith Duke, Mr. Farley. Vote PDP, me a vote PDP. Kick out pressure pot Rowley. 5 years no worry session. Tell me with the L pressure pot Rowley the pan him not give it with the right, but him a take it with the left. And tell me with the LTH he do it 2.2 billion and the people in Tobago pure sufferation. And the worst government me ever see govern. Raging bull with no direction. All me a see a just bad intention. And me na talk no lie, me a speak the truth from Kelvin Charles signing him the pan you. Now I walk up and the youth and him a try get the youth. They would like them a just blow. Me a talk the truth, me na talk no lie. Instead them raise pay, only food I get and poor people a cry. Me ask them why. And me a vote PDP, we a vote PDP, cause we want betterment here for we country. Vote PDP, we a vote PDP, PNM them never do nothing for we. Vote PDP, we a vote PDP, full time we try to face.
Info update for July 24th, 2020. In the headlines, Tobago on high alert ahead of Tropical Storm Gonzalo. Some health and safety advice from the TRHA. And TNT now has 142 COVID-19 cases with contact tracing extended to Tobago.
Info update. Informative, insightful, unfiltered. The issues, topics, and conversations that affect you. This is the THA's Daily Info Update.
The Department of Youth Affairs is conducting a rapid assessment exercise to determine the needs of Tobago's youth impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Help us help you by completing the assessment forms when our youth auxiliary officers visit your community. You can also fill out forms at youth development centers at Bethel, Signal Hill, Castara, or Roxborough, or at the main office of the Division of Sports and Youth Affairs at Orange Hill Road, Scarborough. Call 612-3792 extension 1036 for further information. Join our assessment exercise. We want to hear from you.
And now for the details. As Tropical Storm Gonzalo makes its way across the Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago is likely to be impacted by heavy showers and thunderstorms from early Saturday morning. This information was released at a meeting held by the Tobago Disaster Management Committee, TDMC, on July 22nd. At the meeting, Chief Secretary Honorable Ansel K. Dennis said he's pleased with the mitigation plans that are in place.
Of course, there will be some more preparatory work going forward over the next 24 to 48 hours to ensure that the people of Tobago and this island are in fact ready for any eventuality.
Mr. Dennis says, though many of us are of the belief that God is a Trini, it is critical that persons stay alert and up to date with the information being provided by the authorities.
Listen to all the messages and communication coming from us here in the Tobago House of Assembly and of course from the national level, from ODPM and the weather agencies.
Mr. Dennis urges residents to take responsibility for their own safety and to take the necessary steps to preserve life and property. We continue with some safety advice from the Tobago Regional Health Authority. The General Manager, Primary Care Services of the TRHA, Dr. Roxanne Mitchell, says the Scarborough General Hospital is prepared for any eventuality arising from the effects of Tropical Storm Gonzalo. Dr. Mitchell shared some important advice on how citizens can prepare for the storm.
We're asking the communities to ensure you have a 72-hour supply of water and a 72-hour supply of food stuff. So you're looking at non-perishables, your tin goods. You're looking at things like crackers, things that are easily prepared. Of course, you have to take into consideration if you're diabetic and not stock up on too much carbohydrates. You have to maintain your health during the period.
In addition, citizens are reminded to have a small first aid kit, bandages, and a week's supply of medication on hand, and to ensure that important documents are properly sealed in bags. And now for an update from the Ministry of Health Virtual Media Conference on Thursday, July 23rd. Trinidad and Tobago has recorded 142 positive COVID-19 cases to date. 6 of these cases have occurred within the last week. 2 have been confirmed as local transmission, and case number 142 recorded today appears to be heading in the same direction. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Roshan Parasaram revealed at the Ministry of Health Virtual Media Conference on Thursday that contact tracing for COVID-19 case number 139 has extended to Tobago.
On the 21st, I believe, 3 of those family members would have gone to Tobago. We contacted the CMOH right away when we found out that the case was positive. Tests were done on all 3 of them. They were all negative.
The 3 family members were tested using the rapid test polymerase chain reaction PCR machine. They are now in supervised home quarantine in Tobago, and contact tracing is underway for persons with whom they may have come into contact.
The contact tracing is going very well. They just have a very small number of contacts in Tobago, and they have already tested all of them except 1, which they should do within the next day.
Dr. Parasaram said they will be required to do 14 days of quarantine and will be retested if symptoms develop via the PCR machine, which can give results in 45 minutes. And that's it from all of us at the Department of Information. I'm Josanne Brassi, and you've been listening to Info Update.
Street 91.9 FM Tobago, your real radio.
So nice, never catch a vibe that felt so right. When you're not around. good day. We're rocking from Sunday to Sunday. Don't nah mess up my mood, but just how I can move, don't make me rock and groove. Don't nah mess up my mood, but just how I can get through, don't make me rock and groove. Them say, oh yes I show off, oh yes I hype. You have little happiness in your life. Now you used to suffer in a day, whole night. Oh, some of my suffer for the rest of my life. Show up, make sure you grow up. Live a good life, that's if you keep up. I'm good some days, I'm a lay back. Me see the trouble, me I leave that. In my shoes, I'm a tank top, yeah. In my jeans, like cut off from my foot. In my shoes, with some bright color socks. Time at boat, me not go wear no flip flops. Cause not now, miss how I mood. Me just how I can move. Don't make me rock and roll. Press double tap, that's quite fine to me. Sitting under the sunlight, listening to music that's alive. It's gonna be a good day. Yeah, it's gonna be a good day. We just live my life. Me I watch me in on my side. I'll be take care of me and mine. Don't have no time for no cross-cast vibe. Just so I gotta move, gonna make me rock and roll. Oh, no, now miss how I mood. But just so I can go through, gonna make me rock and roll. I see things out of road and I can't stand it. Some can't find happiness, that is so tragic. But don't bring your brother down, that's a bad habit. Leave your sister in a peace, please stop it. Trust me, try your best, but you're not getting on my head. Me just a ease and all I miss. Yeah, me just a all I miss. Me just a live my life. Me I watch what in on my side. I fi take care of me and mine. Don't have no time for no gas vibe. No, no, it's how me mood. Me just a walk and I move. Come make me rock and roll.
From Lowlands. Whether I'm at home or at work, I always tune in to the street 91.9 FM.
She got the brown eyes, caramel thighs, long hair, no wedding ring. Hey, I saw you looking from across the way, and now I really wanna know your name. She got the white dress, but when she's wearing less, man, you know that she drives me crazy. The brown eyes, beautiful smile, you know I love watching you do your thing. I love her hips, curves, lips say the words. Te amo mami, I kiss her. This love is like a dream. So join me in this bed that I'm in. Push up on me and sweat, darling. So I'm gonna put my time in. I won't stop until the angels sing. Jump in that water, be free. Come south at the border with me. Jump in that water, be free. Come south at the border with me.
He got that green eyes, giving me signs that he really wants to know my name. Hey, I saw you looking from across the way, and suddenly I'm glad I came. Ay, ven para acá, quiero bailar, toma mi mano. Quiero sentir tu cuerpo en mí, estás temblando. Green eyes, shaking your time, and I will know we'll never be the same. I love his lips, cause he says the words. Te amo mami, don't wake up, this love is like a dream.
So join me in
this bed that I'm in.
Push
just your vibe. A little crazy, but I'm just your type. You want the lips and the curves, need the whips and the furs and the diamonds I prefer. In my closet, his and hers. Hey, you want the little mamacita margarita? I think the egg got a little jungle fever. Hey, you want more than something boring. Legs up and tongue out, Michael Jordan. Go exploring, something foreign. Bust it open, rainforest if you pouring. Yeah, kiss me like you need me, rub me like a genie. Pull up to my spot in Lamborghini, cause you gotta see me, never leave me. You got a girl that could finally do it all. Drop an album, drop a baby, but I never drop a ball.
Push up for me and sweat, darling. So I'm gonna put my time in. I won't stop until the angels sing. Jump in the boat.